Hello, and welcome to MVAO 101 MainView Auto Operator Tools. This is part 2. MVAO 101 is the first in an 8-part series of courses covering MainView Auto Operator. The MVPARMS command, or MVP, allows you to set your session parameters. We're going to take a minute and go through each of these options. Option 1 is where we can specify our primary application, and that applies only to the BBISS OLTP based products. And what we can do here is if we specify an application such as AO, we'll skip the menus and we'll go directly into the auto operator menu. Now there are several other options that you can select here. If you need to know more information about them, use your PF1 key and you'll get some additional information. Option number 2 lets you set your default connection. Now, in order to set your connection to a default in this interface, you need to specify in the MainView CList that your SS is a series of 4 question marks. And that directs MainView to allow you to specify a value here. Now, what you would do is you would go down to this list at the bottom. You can scroll down through it, and you would select the target that you want as your default when you first come in with an SD command. Option 3 allows you to direct the responses from your IMS or your BBI commands to the local log. Otherwise, they will go to the general BBISS log. Now let's talk about the general services that AutoOperator provides. And you can see them down at the bottom of the screen outlined in red. MainView general services include the journal, online messages and codes, multi-system targeting, your PF key definitions, and as well as any cycles you set up for cycle control. The first service we're going to talk about is the MSG service. And MSG allows you to access all the potential MainView messages online because they're not documented in any of the hard copy manuals. If you type MSG on the command line, you'll be presented with a list of all the messages, and then you can use the locate command to find a specific one. Alternatively, you can type MSG space the message ID, and that will take you directly to a detailed explanation of the message. All the messages that MainView generates are stored in a PDS that's pointed to the DD BBM live in the BBISS paths. It is possible for you to add your own help members by concatenating below our libraries in the BBM live DD. So you can go ahead and put additional doc for operators, maybe procedural things, stuff like that. Here's an example of the display that you'll see if you issue MSG without any message ID. And if we select a message, or if we specify MSG space a message ID, we'll see a display like this that provides us with a detailed explanation of the message. The second service we're going to discuss is the key service. And the key service is what you would use to define your user PF keys. Now you can set them up to be used just for a single session, but if you want them to be persistent and carry forward between sessions, you can use the save command when you're assigning your PF key commands. You can set site default values by customizing your BBI keys in the SBB library, and we do recommend that you make some changes from the default settings. Make PF4 transfer, PF5 expand, PF6 detail, and PF12 retrieve. And this will make your life a lot easier navigating in the full screen mode because these services can be used quite frequently. You can use the PF show on command to display your PF key assignments on the screen. And of course, PF show off will just suppress that display so you won't see the PF keys. So if we type in keys, this is how the display will look to us. You can see up there at the top, we have our PF1 through PF12, and we can go in and we can assign the key whatever functions we want. And you can notice that in this display, we reassign the PF4, 5, 6, and 12 keys to the recommended values. Now, if we just type in these values and we hit PF3, they're going to persist as long as I stay in this session. If I exit MainView and come back in, he's going to reset to defaults. If we want to avoid that situation, we can type save on the command line, and that will write these PF key assignments into your profile so that when you come back into MainView, they'll be assigned the same way they are when you exited. PF keys can be assigned for each of the BBISS applications. So you have a global setting for the general interface, and you'll have a separate set of keys within the log. You'll have a separate set of keys for AO, and then you'll have a separate set of keys for any of the products, whether it's MainView for DB2, MainView for CICS, so on and so forth. Now the key assignments are saved into a profile data set with a member name that's the application name, such as log PFK. Now, if the first line in the member is master, you're not allowed to modify it. That's the one we distribute. If you want to modify a site-wide value and you want to use ours as a template, you can copy the BBI PFK from the BBProf to the SBBProf library and then comment out master by putting an asterisk in column 1. The next service we're going to discuss is the cycle service. And the cycle service allows you to cycle through various MainView displays regardless of what system they're on. It's an automatic refresh type of mode, and it's invoked via the go command. Within the cycle refresh, you can have up to 20 screens defined. They can include data from any of the OLTP or AO products, and it includes most of the screens that are in there. You can also set up a display time for each screen so that you can be on one screen for 3 seconds, another one for 10 seconds, maybe one for 5 seconds, so on and so forth. Cycles are defined once, and then you can reuse them as many times as you like. Now let's talk about the journal or log display in MainView AutoOPERATOR. So within MainView AutoOPERATOR, you'll essentially have two types of journals. You'll have a local journal that's allocated to your user session, and then you'll have a global journal that's allocated to the BBISS. So the local journal is typically going to have your responses from any MVS, IMS, Sysprog commands, and it's a little bit easier to find them when they're in the local journal because there's not so much stuff in there. One thing to be aware of is when the local journal fills up, it goes back to the top and starts writing over the oldest messages. And this contrasts very differently with the BBISS journal, which is run at the BBISS PAS level, includes all of your BBI messages, your product messages, any messages being generated by rules and execs, or any responses from BBI commands. And unlike the local journal, when the global journal fills up, it issues a switch command and it archives that data and it goes back and starts writing over the next file. So you always maintain a history of the data in the global journals, whereas in the local journals you do not. And here's an example of the journal that you would see in AutoOPERATOR. If we use the PF10 key, you can see to the left that will show you the date stamps as well as where the message originated. If you specify journal equal enhanced in the BBISS P00 member when you customized AutoOPERATOR, you have the ability to set up exclusions and inclusions for specific messages from certain sources. And that can be very helpful and limited in the display to just the information you're interested in seeing. Now let's take a minute to talk about the MainView Logger for earlier releases of MainView infrastructure or the DBC NGL for the most current versions of the infrastructure. This capability of logging, highly efficient logging that's available to various products in the MainView infrastructure, will run as a separate address space, and it connects directly to the CAS. It provides some really nice capabilities to MainView, and in particular for AutoOperator. It includes all of the messages that are written to the BBI Journal. You can have inclusion of your WTOs and your WTORs, and you can put the entire global journal in there if you specify the PARM to ask for that support. Now we do have the ability to do filtering, sorting, and customization of this data, so there's a lot of flexibility when it's hosted in these login structures. The logprof command allows you to filter your messages in the NGL by using the message prefix, job name, user ID, message level, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of capability there to filter down the data to just what you need to see. You can use the log time command to do filtering by time, and it is possible to export the messages from the log to another file. Here's an example of the MainView Logger. You can see that this is in Windows mode, like most of the MainView products, and you can see all of the messages that are being captured in the logger itself. And here's an example of the AO journal that you would see in the logger facility. And notice he's formatted a little bit nicer than what we would see in the journal typically using the full screen mode. You get a little bit more space this way, and you get some color coding that can make it easier to find the messages that you're seeking. Within the BBI journal, you can issue a few different commands, so let's talk about those now. The log command, of course, transfers you into the journal from anywhere in an OLTP display. You can use the T space time command to essentially do a locate to a certain timestamp in the journal. You can do a find command just like you would anywhere else in ISPF, F space, and then what you want to search for. If you want to search backwards, you add a PREV to the end. If you want to write a message to the BBI journal, you can type a message prefixed with an asterisk, and it'll write that into the journal. That can be helpful if you're doing some searches and you want to be able to come back to a previous place. And it's just a little easier to set up a unique set of characters that you can find quickly. There's a .help command that will list all of the commands of the BBI commands that are available, which can be very helpful. There's a .d command to display various things in AutoOperator, including variable pools, what products are implemented. You can display the journal status, any links that are set up between your OLTP passes, as well as any users. So there's a .e or reset command that allows you to reset your PARMs. There's a .t command that allows you to enable and disable rules and rule sets, a .s or a .p command to start links. There's a .i command that allows you to force the switch of a journal, and it initiates the archive of the previous journal. Now note that these commands here should really only be used by the AO administrator. They're not intended for the user. Within the OLTP session, you can issue a whole bunch of different commands. They're controlled by different command prefixes. So MVS commands we prefix with a £sign. JES2 commands would be prefixed with a $. If you're a JES3 shop, you can issue JES3 commands by doing $*. If you want to issue a BBI command, those are start with a period. If you want to put a message into the log, prefix your text with an asterisk. If you wish to invoke an exec, prefix your exec name with a %sign. And if you want to issue Sysprog commands, you would prefix them with a question mark. Now be aware that these results will go to the local journal, and it's always a good idea before you issue these commands to verify that the target in the upper right is the target you want to issue these commands against. You can also issue OLTP commands in your terminal session, and this is how you would do it. If you want to issue CICS transactions, you would prefix it with a plus. If you want to issue DB2 commands, you prefix it with a dash. IMS commands are prefixed with a /. IMS-plex commands are prefixed with 2 forward slashes. If you want to invoke an IMS transaction, you would prefix it with an exclamation point. If you want to write an IMS message, you prefix it with a $sign. And if you want to issue MQ commands, you would prefix it with an @ sign. Now you can also issue MainView Sysprog commands from within the OLTP session. And by default, with AutoOperator for ZOS, you're going to get a subset of the Sysprog commands. It does require AutoOperator for ZOS. And if you have the full MainView for ZOS product, you'll get a full set of the Sysprog commands that are documented in the MainView Sysprog Services Manual. So if I issue a sysprog command, and in this case you can see I issued a $info at the top of the display, all the results are generated to the local log, as you can see here. And the local log is indicated in the upper right in the target field. You can see it says local. Now, there is an undocumented feature in AutoOperator called Browse, and what this does is it allows you to look into the DD names allocated to the BBISS and then select certain members so you can see what the contents are. And this is how it would look. So you simply put you into an ISPF browse session for the member you have indicated. Now, a better way to view your parms, if that's what you want to do, is to use the PAS parm view in AutoOperator. And what he's going to do here is he's going to show us all of the parms that are in use in green. So this is a nice way to validate what your parms are and which ones are actually being used. In some shops, after a long time of having MainView implemented, you tend to have a lot of different libraries. Sometimes the concatenations can become unclear. You can use the PAS parm view to quickly determine which parm members are being used from which libraries. This concludes MVAO 101 Part 2.